they're there to support students. We're there to support students, but sometimes that means removing students or that are getting in the way of the overall student experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to tell my staff, like, don't say, try to avoid that language. Because even though it's not intentional, it does. It's, it insinuates that the only reason a student would go there is if they've done something wrong.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. But I get it. That's, I think, a constant thing. People do make assumptions about the dean's office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the same thing when we had the director of student conduct, and they did care and conduct.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is crazy. Why are we calling this position the director of student conduct?
Yeah.
Because they're calling students who are in need of help, and then I mean, think about that. A student who's struggling with depression or some type of personal crisis, and they're sent to the director of student conduct.
Mm-hmm.
Then that doesn't feel right. So
yeah, I think one of the things
we call it.
Oh, go ahead.
We call it director of student success. We're going to possibly call it director of student development or something like that. But
mm-hmm.
Because those two things are referring to compartmentalizing care and conduct. There's many people's roles who do both, and those two things should be compartmentalized when possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think one of the things that's I think I lost my thought here. So it's emerging in the data that the title that describes each of your jobs, like the title is can be limiting when it's just your conduct and care, or your so I'm doing some reflecting on this because there's so much beyond the title. Even if your title is sort of all-inclusive, it's
mm-hmm.
then you still have to describe what you do after the title.
Mm-hmm.
So that piece is coming out a little bit because everyone has different names for the title. Similar work, but additional description is always needed.
Yeah.
So that piece is interesting to me. But anyway, any more thoughts on that? Any of the compartmentalization stuff?
I don't think so.
Well, this is good stuff. Like, your angles have been new to what I've been talking with people about, so I appreciate it. One of the questions I asked of the group was, what kind of person does this work? I mean that in the best possible way, but what kind of person does this?
Sure. Oh, man, that's another good question. Gosh. Well, I'm just gonna, just from my own experience, I'm just gonna describe some of the people that I've seen who are in this line of work.
Okay.
All right. Some people do care. Some people do conduct because they enjoy working with students, and they enjoy trying to help students. They enjoy trying to help students overcome their challenges. Those are one trait that I've seen in conduct officers.
Mm-hmm.
I've also seen people who want to work in administration,
mm-hmm.
and having conduct experience is good.
Mm.
So I've also seen it's people who want to climb the ladder, or they want to be a dean, or they want to be a PhD. It's having conduct experience is a good thing to have under your belt. So I've seen people, be like, I want to work in this and get this experience because I know it'll help me to go and do this. Even though, they may not really have a passion or an interest in it. It's just a way for them to, put another notch on the belt.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I suppose you could say there's people, you would think that you would see people doing it that are power hungry, like outside people might see that, or I've had students think that, like, well, you like to do this because you like to, it's like a power trip for you. I haven't really seen that. From the people that I've worked with, I don't really see that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's those people out there who either got into it for that reason, or after they got into it and they got some power and authority, then that made them feel really good. But it's like the same thing like a police officer maybe. Well, people that, and they understand there's cops probably that, they're on a power trip. But I haven't really seen that in conduct officers very much. For the most part, it's the people that just want to help students.
Mm-hmm.
And they're willing to do hard things. We had a advisor do almost like an informal internship with our director of student success because she thought she was interested in doing some, conduct and care. And what she found was that she liked therapies, but she's not doing a conduct. And after 2 or 3 months, she was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And we said, that's fine. No offense taken. Now you know.
Yeah.
For everybody. And it's better to learn that now than, maybe you go and get a job at somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not for everyone. But for the most part, what I've experienced is that people go into it because they like working with people. They want to help students develop and succeed.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so one last question that I have, and then I want to just ask you if there's anything that you've thought of or that I've been missing. But how has your work been impacted by your participation in this study?
Yes. It's caused me to be more self-reflective. So I think, being asked some of the questions that you've asked over the few times that we've met, some of them are things that I've thought about a lot, and then some of them are things that you don't necessarily think a lot about. And then when you're asked about it and you talk about it and process it, you self-reflect. And so for me, I've really enjoyed it because it's helped me to self-reflect on my own experiences and my own thoughts. And participating in it and thinking about it more just reinforces to me how important the work is and also how hard the work is.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard in the sense that none of it is, most of it is not black and white. So trying to make the right decisions, and it's also hard in the sense of just the process, just the things that you experience, the things that you see, the students that you work with, the victims that you see, the victims that you work with is, it's hard. It's hard. Conduct officers know things about students on campus that nobody else knows. We know things about the student population that a lot of other people don't know. We carry things, that most people don't even